What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video we have a pretty exciting mod that we have been putting off for a while now, but after doing it, it is definitely going to be one of my favorite mods just because how bright they are and they just look great. So let's get into it. The mod that I'm talking about, it's going to be right above the tires. And actually this one is a 6 light kit, so it's going to be right in the middle between the two doors right here as well. So let me show you what they look like. So first of all, it is going to be pretty much OEM. It works with your OEM switch. So basically there's going to be no splicing, no cutting, no wiring that you have to do on your own. Everything is plug and play 100%. So let me show you what they look like. So when you first open your door, your keys have a parameter sensor, so that when you get close to it, your lights inside turn on. But when you grab your handle, I don't know if you can see that, it's not as dark right now, but we got the KC highlights, or the KC cyclones, I mean. So as you can see there above the wheel, right here as well, and then obviously in the rear as well. It is about 6:15 right now in Colorado. Sun goes down at 7, so we got 45 minutes left. So it's not super dark yet, obviously, but as I showed you, you can use it with your door. So anytime you open your door, the lights come on. That being said, this is the little controller that does power it. Right here you can flip it on all times or off, so that way they don't turn on. Or if you are doing a night run, you can leave them on. That way you have lights that will pretty much light the path that you're on. Let's go ahead and jump straight into the install. This install is going to be pretty much step by step. We try to be as detailed as we can in this install video, and then we'll show you guys what it looks like when it is pretty much pitch dark at night at the very end. So stay tuned for that, and let's go. Alright guys, so this is everything that's going to be in the kit. So you'll get it in this white box here, and then going from left to right, this will be the switch adapter. So basically your OEM switch to the new switch that controls everything. This is your relay harness with your relay right there. You'll get 4 or 6 KC Cyclone LED lights, depending which kit you choose. In this one we're going to be using the 6. And then here, the bigger of the 3 is going to be the rear lights. The medium size bundle is going to be for your front lights. And then this one here, I believe, will only come with the 6 light kit. And then you'll get all the hardware in the little bag. Step 1 is going to be removing your negative terminal. That way no shorts or anything will happen during the install. So let's do that real quick. Alright, so you can just set it to the side. You can maybe put a rag around it if you want to. That way it doesn't jump back on and get back on the terminal. The next step is going to be locating the grommet that is inside of your fender liner. So if you look right there, you can see the rubber grommet. It's almost the center, and just look towards the rear a little bit and you'll see it should be the only rubber grommet that's up there. So we'll just go ahead and pull that off. And then if you guys can see that little green mark, we basically measured 1.5 to 2 inches from the center of that hole back that way towards the inside of the vehicle and marked it. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole right there. That way the LED can have a hole for the wires, and then this bigger hole is going to be for the LED cyclone. So we're going to be using a center punch just to make a mark, and what that's going to do is just make a little indentation to allow us to put the drill bit on easier and have a good place to start. Once you have done that, go ahead and start drilling it. The drill bit size that we're using is a 3/8, and everything is going to be mentioned on the instructions as well. Once you have that drilled, this is what it'll look like from the fender side on the driver's side. So if you see that little hole where the light's coming through, that's the hole that we just drilled, and the bigger hole is literally like 1.5 inches behind it towards the fender. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to clean that up, make sure there's no sharp edges, no burrs to catch on the harness wires. Okay, so we got all the hardware laid out here. There should be this amount of hardware in your kit. We laid them out just to organize them. So the very first thing we are going to need are these grommets right here. They are rubber. Grab one of your KC cyclone lights, and we're going to feed the grommet through the ends of them, and you just have to stretch them over, and making sure that the big side is towards the bottom, because the big side is going to sit against the metal on the fender. Okay, once you have it there, we'll go ahead and go on, take it to the fender. Now that we are over here getting ready to install the first cyclone light, we have one of the bigger button heads, a lock washer, and a nut. So what we're going to do, we're going to come down here, we're going to feed the pigtail through the hole that we just drilled, and then we're going to put that rubber stopper right up there and making sure that it lays flat. And then we will install the cyclone light, put the bolt through, feed it through the existing hole with that grommet that we took out, and on the top side we'll put the lock washer and the nut. Alright, so what we did to kind of make it a little bit easier is we cut the zip ties that were on this harness right here, attaching to this box. Just slid it out of the way a little bit, so that way we can have access to that and to put that nut on top of the bolt that's going to come through there. Okay, once we have the first cyclone light installed, this is what it'll look like from the bottom. And then this is what it'll look like from up top here. You see we got that nut on right there. You can go ahead and tighten everything down. Down here is going to be a 6mm Allen head, and then up here you can use an open end wrench. It's going to be a 17mm, basically just to hold it down, and since that box is in the way you can't really get a socket, so an open end will work. Alright, onto the passenger side. So if you see here, I do have a secondary battery that I just pulled out. So if you guys do not have a secondary battery, you don't have to worry about this. The only thing you might have to worry about is that horn that is right there. So that horn is normally on the fender side right here. So you might have to move that out of the way to get to that grommet, which is going to be that hole right there. As you can see, we already pulled the grommet out. So now we will just measure 1.5 inches to 2 inches and then make a mark and drill a hole. So first step, once again, measure 1.5 inches to 2 inches from the center of the hole. Then we'll just make a mark, and then we'll use a center punch just to make a little indentation. And then we'll go ahead and use the 3/8 drill bit. Once you have the hole drilled, you can go ahead and just clean it out. We just use a razor, but you can just use pretty much anything to just drill it or to clean it out. So once again, put the grommet through, and then we're going to put that bigger side down. That way when it's flush against the metal on the fender, it will be flush. From here we can go ahead and feed that pigtail up through the hole that we just drilled, and then we feed the grommet up there as well, making it flush against the metal. Then we'll grab the big bolt and then just feed it up. And on the other end, we'll put a lock washer and a nut. And this side, we have a lot of clearance, so we'll be able to use just a normal socket instead of using an open end. And once you have that started, you can go ahead and tighten it down. And at this point, we got the fronts done. We can go ahead and move on to the rears. Now we're on to the rear. So this one is a little bit of a new method from the previous installation videos that we've seen. Before, you did have to drill into your bedside down into the fender well, but now there's a different way, which we are going to show you. What we're going to have to do is remove that first clip there. So as you can see, there's two here. You want to move the one that is closer to the front of the vehicle, and you can use a pry tool like the one we just used, or just like a regular flathead. Next, we are going to have to drill that hole out just to make it a little bit bigger. We are going to be using that 3/8 drill bit again. This is the hardware we're going to be using for the rear. So you will be using a smaller bolt, washer, a spacer, one of these weld nuts that's going to go into the hole that we just drilled, and of course the light. So this is the order that's going to go in. You're going to need your bolt, your washer, put it through the cyclone, your spacer, and then that's going to bolt into the weld nut. Grabbing that weld nut, we're going to feed it up into the hole that we drilled, and it is going to be a really snug fit just because you don't want this weld nut to go anywhere since it is holding the cyclone together. So we have the bolt, the washer, the cyclone, the spacer, and then now we're going to install it into the fender. So that weld nut we got up there is in there right now, and as we tighten the bolt, what's going to happen is the threads are going to catch, and it's going to squish that rubber part of the weld nut together, and it's going to hold the cyclone up. And what we're going to do with that wire is we're just going to tuck it probably towards the back right there. That way it's hidden, and that way it doesn't get damaged if we hit any rocks or anything like that. So once you have it tightened all the way down, it's nice and snug, and it's not going to go anywhere. We are going to do the exact same thing on the driver's side. If you guys didn't get the 6 light kit, you guys can go ahead and move on to the wiring part of things. But since we are going to be showing the 6 light installation, this part here, you'll need to find these 2 holes. It is pretty much exactly in the middle of your truck on the 2 sides. So if you guys have rock sliders, you might have 2 caps, 2 black caps that are on them. We do not, because we took off the running boards that were on them a long time ago. And so just look for this little square. There's going to be 2 holes right above it. We're going to be using the top hole. So for the middle light, you'll just need a bolt, a lock washer, and a regular washer, and then of course the light. And to do that, you just put them all together, feed it through the light, and then we will thread them onto the inside hole. If your hole is dirty, go ahead and just clean it out. We cleaned it out right before we did it. So this is what I mean by saying that the hole was super dirty. As you can see there, we got a bunch of dirt in there. So what we did, we just cleaned it out, and that way the bolt goes in nice and clean. So exact same thing. Go ahead and thread it in to the innermost hole, and then we'll tuck the wiring on the inside as well. That way it's hidden as much as possible. And the Allen head on this one is actually a little bit different. It is a 5mm instead of a 6 like we've been using, and that's what it'll look like when we're done. Now we are on to the wiring portion of this install. So out of the 3 wound up harnesses, we're going to need this bigger one first. This one is going to run from the back all the way to the front. So what we're going to do now is just unravel this and show you guys what that looks like. Once you have the big bundle of wire unraveled, this is pretty much what it will look like once it's installed on the truck. So this will be the front. This little pigtail here will be for the 6-piece lights, which are the ones that we just installed. And then back here, this one tees off. That one goes to the passenger rear. And then this short one will go to the driver rear. The next bundle that we'll need is the very small one. This one here will pretty much connect the very 2 middle ones. So we'll get this unraveled and show you guys what that looks like. This is what it will look like. On the passenger side, it will have the connectors that will connect to the KC cyclones. And then on the driver's side, it'll have 2 leads. One will look like this, and the other one will look like that. These will connect to this here, that long big bundle that we unraveled the first time. And then these 2 with the clear caps will connect to the cyclones. Now we're getting ready to pretty much just plug everything in. We are going to be starting at the driver rear. So as you guys can see, we got this harness laid out like how we had before. We're going to start with the short end of that harness. So red will be plugged in with red, and black will be plugged in with black. Once those 2 are plugged in, what we're going to do is just going to run it right behind the plastic fender liner right here. So the end will come out right here, and that will be tucked right up there. Now at this point, we're going to grab the side that goes over to the passenger rear. At this point, we are going to be running that harness over the frame and then across the cross member over to the other side. Alright, so we are getting ready to run the line to the passenger rear. Where we are going to follow is, this is the fuel neck that's right there. So what we're going to do is just going to feed the harness right underneath that to the other side. And then the harness is going to come out right there, right above the fuel tank. And what you want to do is just grab it and pull it over. And then we're going to continue, pull it all the way to this side. And we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to feed it behind that fender liner. And we're going to come out on this side, and we're going to plug it in right there. Now we're getting ready to feed the wires to the front, and then plugging the middle lights along the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to come right over this body mount right there, and then right along the frame we're going to go to the inside part of the frame. Once you drop it down over the frame, just pull the rest of the wires through. Once you have that wire on this side of the frame, we're just going to feed it right in here, right in between the frame. And we're just going to run it along here, pull the wires all the way to the front. Once we get to about here, pretty much where our KC light is, we're going to tuck it right underneath there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to plug this part in right here before we continue. So we'll grab that middle wire we talked about earlier, plug that in, and then what we're going to do is we're going to feed it underneath this harness right here, come through over that, feed it over the top of the frame. And then once we're over here, we can go ahead and plug it in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to feed that same middle wire up and over this cross member to the other KC light. So we're going to go behind that harness again just to have it cleaner look. come up to this cross member. We're gonna just tuck everything right above this cross member. Once we get to this side, we'll go over the frame, just like we did, and then we'll plug this in there. So at this point, we decided to zip tie everything. So we zip tied the ones that are across this back cross member here. And then we zip tied everything that is along this cross member. You can kind of see it right there and there. We zip tied things above the cross or the cyclone. All over here. We put a little zip tie right there. So everything's nice and clean. The next step is we're going to be feeding this one on top of the cross member along these evap lines right here, and we'll follow it to the engine. So we're just going to go right on top of this frame here. These are the evap lines right here. If we try to go inside of the frame still, it gets boxed out at the end, so we wouldn't be able to get it through. So we're just going to hop out here, follow these evap lines, probably throw a zip tie right there, and then we're going to come out here. So we're going to feed that up right there, right next to the exhaust. We're just going to come right here, literally right next to the tire. And then we're going to lower the truck and then work on the front too. The next step, we are going to be installing the relay harness. So this is the relay here. It's going to consist of a blue wire, a fuse with a red wire, and then at the end of that is going to be a ring terminal on the red end. And then on the black end is going to be just a little connector like that. This one here is actually going to run through the firewall here, through that grommet that's going to be there, into the cab. Now we're going to be working at the fuse box. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to grab the relay harness, and then we're going to grab the blue wire, and then we're going to grab the harness that is running from the passenger side to the driver side. And what you want to do is put the side with the single red and black wire on the passenger side, and then the one on the driver's side will have 1, 2, and 3 pairs of black and red wires. The first one we're going to be working on is the one with the ring terminal on the black end, and then the female on the red. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug that red with the blue on the relay wire. Now that you have those two plugged in together, what we're going to do is we are going to be pulling out a nut that is right there at the bottom of the fuse box. So we are going to be using that location to mount our ground and our relay. So we're going to put the relay down first, and then we will put the ground terminal right on top of that. So it will look like that. Relay on the bottom, ring terminal, ground on top. It doesn't really matter which way you put it in, as long as they're both touching that metal bolt. Then you can put on the nut that you pulled off. Go ahead and tighten it down. Once you have that tightened down, we're going to be working with the rest of the wires here. So like we mentioned before, on the passenger side, you will have a single red and black wire. And then on the driver's side, we will have the ones with the multiple ends. What we're going to do next, we will connect the power that comes from the relay. And that's going to be the red wire with the ring terminal on it, and you can connect it however you want. You can connect it on the top or on the side, that's really up to you. So we'll just put put it right on top just because it's the easiest, and we'll tighten that back down. So what's going to be left over is one single black long wire, which is going to run inside the cab, and then you'll have a red and a black and another red and a black. And so one of these will actually be connecting to the driver's side cyclone light that's right here, and the other will be connecting to the rear lights that we ran from the back earlier. So what we're going to do right now is we'll connect one of these to the driver's side, and then for the rear harness that we ran all the way to here, it's sitting right there. So what we're going to do is we are just going to grab that, feed it up into the engine bay, coming up from right here, plugged it into the front harness, and then like we showed you earlier, we got the cyclone that's right here at the driver front plugged in as well. So the very last thing we need to plug in is going to be the passenger side. So we'll come over here. This is the passenger side. We'll go ahead and just get that plugged in. This side is going to be exactly the same as the other side. So you just plug the black with black and red with red. Now we're going to be running that one black wire down into that grommet inside to the cab. This is that single black wire we are talking about. This is coming right off of the relay. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach a really long screwdriver to this, tape it, and then we'll puncture a hole in that rubber grommet. We're just going to tape it to the top of it. That way we can get it through that grommet, and we might even put a little bit of auto detailing just to make it a little bit slippery to get inside. So that grommet right there is where we're going through, and that's literally right behind the brake master cylinder, so you know where that is. So with the screwdriver and the wire taped to it, we'll just run it right in there. It'll come out the other side. Is where it's coming out of. So we'll just pull that through, untape it, and then pull that rest of the wire through. So next we are going to be pulling off this panel right here to install that black wire that we pulled through along with the adapter harness. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So super easy to pull out, so you can just use your fingers to pull out like the way we just did right now. I currently have a bunch of stuff that I'm rewiring. That's why I have this switch panel top piece right here. But if you have an OEM piece, you should have that little lip. You can just grab it with your hand and just pull it out. Or you can use a plastic pry tool to grab the corners, whichever is easier. But as you can see here, we have went through and grabbed that black wire from back there and pulled it through here. And what we'll do next, we'll unplug this and show you guys how to install that. So first thing, go ahead and disconnect that by just squeezing that clip and pulling it straight out. Next you'll grab the adapter harness, plug the male end in, and then you'll plug that black wire to the coordinating black wire right there. And then the two that are on here, just go ahead and plug those two together. In the picture it does show that it's pink to pink, but we got a blue one here, so it doesn't really matter what color it is as long as you're plugging the red with the red and the black with that black wire we pulled from the engine bay. Now we just plug this back in to the OEM connector, make sure it clips, and then we'll just put this back. Last step is going to be reconnecting that negative terminal you pulled off at the very beginning, and then just tighten it back down using a 10mm. Alright, so here it is with part of the lights off in this warehouse, and they're pretty bright for these lights still being on. This is the middle one, the rear, and then we'll do some shots at night to show you guys what it looks like in complete darkness as well. Now that it's Now that it's dark enough outside, I can actually show you guys how bright these new rock lights are. First thing you will notice that when you walk up to your vehicle, your parameter for your key fob will turn your lights on inside. Your rock lights will not come on until you actually grab your handle. When you grab your handle, your lights will light up. So there you have it. The rear, the center, the front. This is a side profile of it right now. And obviously it went off, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go switch it on. So when you do open your doors, they come back on. Since they are wired in with your third brake light or your bed light, that will come on with that. Let me flip the switch to keep them on. So if you wanted to keep these on when you're on the trail, obviously just turn on your bed light and keep them on. We did decide to put them over the tires and exactly in the middle where the kit was designed, because we do also have rock lights on our roof rack, which you guys have probably seen already, but I'm just gonna flip my light on just to show you guys. So on my roof rack I got 2 rock lights, and then on my bed rack I have 1, 2 as well. So those were pretty much light right here where the tire is kind of dark, and then the rock lights, these new rock lights, will light up pretty much everything else. So pretty much I will have full coverage of this entire section on the sides of the vehicles, and then obviously in the front we'll have the fog lights, the headlights, the roof light bar that will be on. So pretty much the entire truck will be lit up entirely all around. Pretty cool, really neat mod, not just for, you know, night wheeling, but for everyday use. Comes in real handy when you're walking to your truck and it's dark out, you know, in a parking lot or whatever, and you do see that you can step and get in fairly easily and you can see everything. So yeah, super nice. I like them. I do want to show you guys the lights from underneath. Here's the rear. This is the center and the front. We'll probably just close it out here. That's pretty much it for this video. Just wanted to show you guys the new rock lights, the install, how bright they are. So if you guys like them, we'll have everything down in the description below, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.